Yeah, watching Poland Daily Business, and we talk about India and Polish-Indian relationships in light of the war in Ukraine. Rao Maddukuri, Polish-Indian Business Council, is our guest tonight. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Rao is obviously based in Warsaw and speaks Polish perfectly, but we will use English right now. And we spoke about the evacuation of the students and technically, how do they get from the easternmost corner of Ukraine to the border with Poland, with Romania or Hungary?
No, most of the students came by transportation of buses, cars, and private cars and trains, right? But some people were stuck in Sumy area in the last phase. So those students were organized through a train, and then Indian government sent diplomatic staff to Sumy to escort them basically and coordinate their evacuation. And that from Sumy, the train came with more than 600 students to the initially supposed to come to Lviv, and from there by buses come to the.
But that was not a regular train. You've organized that.
It's an organized train, especially for these students. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, the Russians at the time were bombing pretty much everything in Ukraine, and you couldn't know whether there will be no airplane bombing buses or trains, for instance.
Obviously, I can guess that Indian authorities coordinated with the Russians, informing that there's a movement of people.
Mm-hmm. As we said earlier, those students or people, Indian nationals who appeared on the Polish border, were allowed with no visa to Poland for about 2 weeks, and then you organized them the airlift to India. So how many airplanes were involved? How many people were transferred this way?
From Rzeszów, Indian government organized 17 planes. Most of them civilian, but some of them are military aircraft, so that the pets and animals and others could go in this military aircraft. So C-17, the transport plane.
So we also have the element of close cooperation between Indian armed forces, Indian
Air Force,
and Polish Air Force and Polish armed forces.
Yeah. When I saw in the airport, there was a natural goodwill from both the sides. So they exchanged their badge, Indian Air Force and Polish Air Force. And then Polish soldiers helped to unload the cargo, which is aid to Ukraine and also Ukrainians in Poland. So that was also helped by Polish army.
Mm-hmm. Well, this war is obviously ongoing. Let's hope it will finish as soon as it is possible. Those people who left Ukraine for India, do they maintain their contacts? Like, for example, the students, what was happening? They were on various stages of their education.
Right. What I understood that many of the universities in Ukraine are reaching out to these students to organize the online courses for them for the time being, and then hoping that when the war ends, these students will come back. And then there was some initiative from Rzeszów also that some of them, they could come and study in Rzeszów, for example, continue the medicine. And Indian government also organizing admission for them within the Indian university system also for additional seats.
Yeah, there are universities in India. So what makes Indian students who wants to study in Europe? Okay, I can understand European Union and so on. Why Ukraine?
So it is cost-effective education, basically, right? It's like, I think, $2,000-3,000, which is very cheap comparing other countries. But Indian students go to USA, America, and spend around $10 billion per year on education. 100,000 students, they go to US and also UK. And the recent years, Poland also a recipient of many Indian students, and Polish universities are very much needed these students. And then I believe education could be education sector can open up more to receive the
More international
students.
Yeah.
Actually, 5 years ago, I met a Congressman French Hill, who was economic advisor to George H.W. Bush, who came to Poland and Eastern Europe in the 90s to do the economic reforms. He mentioned those 5 years ago that unless Europe bring young students from all over the world and integrate them, and
well, this is partly brain drain. Well, like there's many positive issues of that, and well, to finish up this story and our time, because time is up for this sort. When you studied in Poland, how many Indians were?
We were 7, maybe. In my group, we were 7.
7, and that were all Indian students in Poland at the moment.
Yeah, maybe that other seniors, maybe altogether, maybe 20 maximum.
20 maximum.
And we have more than 20,000, around 20,000.
If you ride a bus in Warsaw now, there is more than 20 Indians or a given time. Well, thank you very much for this conversation. That's a positive, actually, development. Rao Maddukuri, our guest, Polish-Indian Business Council, was our guest tonight, and we will follow the suit and the story of the Polish-Indian relationships in the next edition of our show.